At a time when the realty market is depressed and home loan rates are still on the higher side, banks and lending institutions are coming up with new schemes to woo home buyers. The flavor of the season? Women. Tata Capital Housing Finance has just joined the club of lenders with attractive home loan schemes for women.
Being a woman just got better. After the cosmetic companies, women now have a new class of suitors, banks and financial institutions with cheaper home loans. Since late 2013, home financiers like State Bank of India and LIC Housing Finance have announced time-bound discounted home loan schemes to lure women borrowers. Tata Capital Housing Finance is latest to join the group. Under the scheme, a woman borrower can avail of a 40 lakh home loan at a discounted rate of 10.15% compared to the normal 10.50%. This could help you save up to 864 rupees a month on a 15-year loan and up to 935 rupees a month on a 20-year loan. Other home financiers like SBI offer home loan of up to 75 lakh at a rate of 10.10% to women borrowers against the normal rate of 10.15% under the discounted rate scheme called SBI Her Loan. For loans above 75 lakh, the interest rate for women customers is 10.25% against 10.30% for others. DHFL has announced a 25 basis point waiver on interest rate for all single or first women applicants who are also the sole or co-owners in the property under its DHFL Home Loan for Women scheme. LIC Housing Finance launched Bhagya Lakshmi, where the interest rate is 0.25% lesser if the wife is the first co-applicant in housing loan. With home financiers joining the League of Lenders with discounted home loan schemes for women, developers surely are a happy lot. For Tata Capital Housing Finance Company, of the 270 crore rupees home loan portfolio, nearly 15% are women home buyers. Both SBI and LIC Housing Finance too saw a great response to the time-bound schemes. With the number of financially independent women rising and government policies too offering concessions to encourage women to own property and give them equal rights, women might continue to attract more attention as always. In New Delhi, Oinita Moja, NDTV.
Well, let's get inside the story a little bit more with Harsh Roongta, CEO, Apnapaisa.com. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. Harsh, despite, sweetening of home loans, of course, the range is just about 5 paisa less or 10, 15, 25 basis less. There's not that much of a difference yet, but the base, if you look at it, industry says is not more than 15% who are home buyers are actually women in terms of loan takers. Isn't that a really small number, and it reflects either a huge growth potential ahead or the sorry state of affairs in the country?
Well, I think the lenders can give loans to people who buy. So I think the issue with the fact that only 15% of the people who borrow are women the issue is probably with property buying and I think female ownership of property. So I think that's a much larger issue than what the lenders can solve. In fact, Manisha, if you look at the lenders over the last 7 years, it has gone a complete about turn. I mean, I remember till about 5, 6, 7 years back, a sole woman, if she wanted a loan, home loan, the banks were not willing to lend.
Wow.
From that to banks then touting that we now have schemes that will lend to single women. Forget about lending them at a concession. And now I think finally the banking sector, the lending sector realizing that women are far better borrowers, are far responsible borrowers. And I think a 5 basis points in the context of home loans, a 0.05% or a 0.1% concession is not a small concession. I mean, it looks small as a percentage, but in a business where margins are not very high, I think 0.05% is a real concession. And these, I mean, if you look at some of them, I mean, they are market leaders, so their rates are good. and on top of those good rates, if there is a concession, then very clearly that's a real concession. And I think it is really good that the lending sector is finally realizing the potential. If we start looking at the property market, you have seen, say, for in markets like Delhi, where stamp duty concessions were given to women buyers, and that has sort of promoted ownership of property by women.
Right.
And I think loans to these kind of people at a concessional rate will just make that process a little faster.
All right. So extremely interesting. Coming back to you, I think Harsh, it's the sweet spot, as we keep saying on the real estate show as well, the property show, that 30 to 50 lakhs, you can't go wrong. There'll always be demand. It's just a question of how many offerings are there at that 50 lakh point. But just give us a sense in terms of where do you think interest rates are headed, Harsh? I mean, we still don't see any kind of indication from RBI that they're likely to bring down rates until unless inflation truly gives us a long-term trend line of moderating. Just one quarter is not going to do it for the governor. So are we going to actually see interest rates hovering around that 10.25, 10.5 sort of place?
I wish I could predict that accurately, but clearly I don't think interest rates are going to drop in a hurry, not till we, as you rightly said, till we see inflation drop too much. So I think this 10.25 is the corridor. Probably they may even harden a bit before I think the cycle turns. But just I wanted to go back to the demand side that you talked about.
Sure.
You know, we see a lot of consumers look at loans, research loans before they even finalize properties, and which is when they come to Apnapaisa. So we see this shift. I mean, we have seen a 25-30% growth. It's coming from two-tier cities. The average value has been dropping. So very clearly, I think the data clearly suggests that the market is now much more than just the Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore. When we talk of real estate markets, especially on TV shows, it's very Bombay, Delhi, maybe in some cases Bangalore centric. But really the bigger market out there and the bigger story out there is in the other cities and at the lower end of the market. Really, I don't see any slowdown in demand there at all.
All right, always a new market which opens up, whether there's a slowdown or not. There are new opportunities which marketers and of course companies suss out. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. Interesting discussion on special rebates or special schemes offered by housing finance companies for women borrowers of home loan. Simply, why? It's not a marketing gimmick, because women are better repayers, or actually they have a much better risk profile. They don't default, and that's so good to hear.